What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I am going to be back on the Crew 1, going over what I think is probably one of the biggest glitches in the entire Crew franchise. Like, I do know there's a lot of crazy ones in like the Crew 2, but there's also one in Motorfest, but I really don't think any of those are going to top the one that's here in the Crew 1. So if you guys are wondering, by the way, there is going to be multiple locations for this, but the most known location is probably going to be here in the East Coast by New York, by this tiny little lake over here, basically going into the river, and obviously that goes into like the bigger bodies of water there, and obviously goes toward that way. But now if you guys are interested in finding this glitch here on the Crew 1, all you will have to do is head over to this lake as I mentioned before, basically right next to this West Point area of the map by New York and the East Coast, and you guys will be looking for the part of the lake here where it's basically going to be cut off. That way you can actually drive right under the entire thing and explore most of the under part of the map. Now for this glitch though guys, I would definitely recommend using something like a rally raid vehicle because you are most likely going to be on some interesting terrain where many of the other vehicle classes are most likely not going to do much of anything. But one of the craziest things to me though is I really do think this glitch is most likely going to be intentional, and they most likely just left this one in there pretty much because, well, they most likely could not change this and basically probably do anything about it, but at the same time you basically have a lot of places you can explore. Running an off-road vehicle under these parts of the map is kind of hilarious. Like, you basically see the upper part of the map, but you also see like actual terrain down here, and it really does make you wonder if they actually did this on purpose. Now, funnily enough, guys, as I did mention before, you can also go basically anywhere, so you can follow this all the way into New York. You can go basically all through here in certain areas, but it really is insane because you can basically go in any part of the entire map where there is basically water. Do keep in mind though guys, there is going to be spawn points around different parts of the areas as well though if you haven't done this in a while. So for example, if you drive all the way to like the end here, it is going to spawn you randomly in the area pretty much over here somewhere. For example guys, when I was going all the way over to the Detroit Lake over here, which by the way, you can get all the way over there, which I will have some gameplay in the background. Doing that though, if you actually drive into like the white part of the map here where there's like that border, it is going to spawn you all the way back over here regardless, unless you actually get all the way to the said bridge here, which is going to be a new spawn point. So if you are trying to travel all under the map by the water, do keep that in mind. If you guys actually crash, like drive above the water, it is indeed going to send you to a completely different area that basically is like a spawn point. Now, one of the funniest things about this though is you can easily drive around most of the under part of the map here, guys, at least on the East Coast, and you can also go by parts of Detroit by like the big lake, and then go by other like small rivers and basically end up in other parts of the map that way. I really do find it kind of funny because I almost feel like they basically left this in there. And if you guys actually did manage to get to the other part of the lake by Chicago, you will actually end up finding like trees and some like weird hills and stuff like under the ground there. No, you will actually end up finding like trees and some like weird hills and stuff under the ground, which is kind of odd. Like, maybe it's going to be like a test environment for certain things before the game was actually out, and maybe they did decide to actually leave that entire thing in there. Now, we can all agree that some glitches in games are probably going to be an issue. I do know some of the glitches obviously break games and stuff, but I really do feel like, guys, a glitch like this really does make the game that much better. Now, I do feel like, though, a lot of these glitches in these games do tend to actually be pretty dang harmless. Like, you're not really going to use, like, a speed glitch or, like, even use a crazy glitch where it makes your car way too fast on, like, a summit. I do feel like, to a certain extent, though, many of the glitches we might see in games are probably going to be better if they are harmless. That way, a lot of players also can mess around with them and have more fun doing them. I also remember some of the glitches back on Most Wanted 2012, where you basically could like run into like a wall and switch cars insanely quick, and then you're actually going to be on the other side of that wall. It was actually kind of hilarious. I also remember some of them where you have to like climb over a certain rock or something. Then you would have to switch into like a specific class vehicle to like fall into the area. And then of course you can then go drive around and like mess around and explore and stuff like that. So I really do feel like, guys, having different glitches like this really does help. And I really do think the glitch in the Crew 1 most likely was intentional, or they basically just left it in there because they were like, you know what? Let's just leave this entire thing in there because it's probably going to be too difficult to fix it. And if you are wondering, by the way, this exact same glitch does not work in the Crew 2. That was also one of the first things I actually checked on the Crew 2, but if you guys are looking for an insanely funny way to mess around back on the Crew 1, I would definitely recommend jumping back on this game to mess around with some of the glitches. Like, The Crew 1 really did have a lot of different bugs in it though, but I have to admit I really can't get mad at it. Like, this game did come out back in 2014, so I guess to a certain extent you really can't get mad at it. But there is going to be another underwater area, guys, you can also go after. It's going to be here by this tiny lake by the Glacier Park in the Mountain State area. Now, I also wouldn't doubt if many players are most likely going to explore different lakes and different bodies of water trying to find more of these, but the other underwater glitch I did want to show you is going to be here in the Mountain States, basically insanely close by to the Glacier Park, right on this little tiny body of water right here in this area. Now do keep in mind though, guys, a lot of these aren't going to be nearly as big as the other one by New York, and I really would say there is definitely going to be more of these around the map. But for this one though, all you will then have to do is basically head over to this location here, and as soon as you guys actually spawn here, you're most likely going to notice the water not connecting to the map. And then, of course, you can actually go in here and basically explore a bunch of areas. But similar to the other ones, though, guys, you obviously can only go so far. And you can also crash pretty easily, like going into the water, like going way too fast and hitting some of the jumps, which in this area, they are kind of everywhere. So if you are going a bit too quick, you can obviously crash a bit easier. But even with that being said, though, it's still going to be insanely fun to drive in places you do not belong. Now, because we are on the topic of glitches, I definitely have to know, what is your favorite glitch in any game in the comments below. This can be on any game at all, guys. What is going to be your favorite glitch ever? Or who knows, even a new glitch you might have found in the Crew 1 and the Crew 2. And also some of the new glitches you might have found in Motorfest. I feel like many games have them. Even a lot of the Battlefield games and Call of Duty games have some funny glitches. So definitely let me know some of your favorites in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more insight.